So hello, KMMA Tribe. I am very excited today because I have with me Mrs. Shannon Wittwer. And Shannon already has a great claim to fame in the KMMA Tribe and community because she is the mother of the great Sensei Charlie, the beloved Sensei Charlie. Is he around there somewhere?
He is.
Hey, Sensei Charlie, say something real quick.
Hello.
All right, Sensei Charlie. Well, yeah, I'm going to be interviewing your mom in this podcast, but great to see you. Shannon, also very, very impressive and appropriate for this leadership podcast is that you are running for the County Commissioner of District 4. And my first question for you is if you would tell us a little bit about what motivated you to run in the first place.
Okay, well, thank you, first of all, for even asking me to do this. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You, first of all, are a leader of leaders. So you can tell by my son. And if anyone doesn't know it, I was going to KMMA. I do want my black belt, so I will be back. So August is the election, but back to it. So about a year ago, I came home. There was a letter in my mailbox, and it was inviting us to a neighbor's house and saying, hey, we're all getting together because if you can actually believe it, over here in Newport Richey, we live in a rural neighborhood. When you think of Newport Richey, you normally don't think that people live on acres. So we all live on 2+ acres here. And they told us that there were a developer was coming in and he was going to put four-story apartment buildings at the end of our neighborhood and then 10,000 square feet of retail space in front of that.
Wow.
That just blew my mind. I picked to live here because of the rural aspect, but still things are close enough, where we can still go right down the road and go to Publix. So we went to this meeting, and also our county commissioner was there as well. So we could ask her questions, and not to take too much time on that, but basically it was like a soft sales pitch for the developer. It was very disheartening. Everyone there let her know that we do not want this. Now what? We were looking for leadership to show us, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, if you can prove, with Florida statutes and the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, that will be on your side. We received none of that. So we went through Planning Commission. That's what happens first. So it goes to planning. They either recommend to approve it or deny it. It was actually denied on the fact that right across from that area is actually a private airport. And the community over there has stated when they come in for a landing, they literally turn over the area where the apartments would be. And you're talking up to 4 bedrooms. That's families living there.
Wow.
And the most dangerous times for airplane flying is takeoff and landing. So they recommended to not approve. That goes to the Board of County Commissioners. And I believe the first meeting with them was to amend the comprehensive plan. So they amend the comprehensive plan, and then it goes up to the state. And the state makes recommendations, if you will, and says, well, you need to change this, you need to change that. Then we came back, we had another planning meeting, and I didn't understand, why are we having another planning meeting? We already had this. And then they approved it. That blew my mind. I thought, well, the airplanes did not go away. That community is still there. I'm not sure why we're back here. But then it went to Board of County Commissioners, and they rubber stamped it right through. And they completely disregarded their comprehensive plan. So regarding density and that area specifically, per their comprehensive plan, it states there should be a transition, meaning an ALF, condos, townhomes, villas, maybe more homes on 1 acre, but that was not even a factor. They said that there wasn't going to be an increase in traffic, and our little road is a cut through to get to 54. Everybody uses it. you would turn right out of there and use our road. There's just so many things. The school's at full capacity. They said, no, it's not at full capacity. Pasco County website says it's at full capacity. And the list goes on and on. So going through all of that, I saw we're not being heard, we're not being represented, saw the seat was coming up for reelection, don't have a political background whatsoever, but am a businesswoman and owner. So I thought, okay, I don't see anyone else stepping up. We need representative government. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and here I am. And hence I did have to put Krav aside. But my gosh, no, I miss it so much. I really do.
Well,
You have a wonderful dojo there.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm excited to hear that you'll be coming back.
Yeah.
And, but I applaud what you did. And it sounds like, you felt like the leadership is not representing you, their constituents and the people in that area. And so you decided to try to step into leadership yourself.
Yes.
And that's a very, very common way that new leaders emerge. So, I wish the best. I think that your story leads very, very nicely into my next question, which was because I could imagine, I also have no experience in politics, but I could imagine that it's not only very busy and hectic and all that you're going through that's keeping you from doing the other things, but that you probably are learning a lot, right? Like, so I wonder if you have some lessons learned through the process that you would want to share with my audience.
I do. One of them is you need to stay completely grounded. It's so easy to get sidetracked by rumors. Everybody wants to tell you what they think, what you should do. So, but my foundation is on Jesus Christ. End of story. People say, so yeah, I love this. They say, what if you get in there and then you change? You get sucked into all that, the bribes. And I say, well, then if that's the case and my actions don't line up with my words, I'm telling you to vote me out. I should not even be there.
Absolutely.
So, and you need to be thick-skinned and you need to see things for what they are. And like I said, there's so many things that people tell you, and you can get stuck into listening to all of it. And it does, I could tell you stories, but I'm not going to, but it's like unfolding an onion. And you're sitting there saying, are you kidding me? All this stuff is really going on. I want no part of that. What I want to do is the best job possible for the people of Pasco County. That's it. It's plain, it's simple. I understand politics is politics, but let's try something new, bring back some common sense.
That's awesome. You're speaking like a KMMA black belt already. And I heard like four of our, what at least to me are common themes in leadership. The first one was you're talking about the voices and the, you didn't use this word, but what happened, this is common for business ownership as well as any kind of leader. And that is the fear that comes from the voices in the head, that comes from the other people's voices, that most people allow to stop them from doing what it is they know they're called to do.
Right.
And so I think that's awesome. And then the second is, people, oh, what if you change and whatever. There's probably 3 or 4 other versions of that, because what we're talking about is, unfortunately, and I'm sorry, I'll probably offend somebody with this, but most people have all those kinds of things as the excuses why they won't do something. So,
right.
Yeah, right. So,
right.
Again, it was the same when I remember, decades ago for me, but when I first took off with this, there were people that loved me, telling me how crazy I was. You were successful in the military, you're a captain. Why would you give it all up to, chase this thing, right? This dream. And so you're, spot on. And then the thick skinned, of course, toughness, grit. It was the theme of our last black belt thing, that there's all that. And I thought that there was an overarching thing in what you just talked about, which was focus. You were saying, like, I just have to stay focused on why I'm here, regardless of the distractions that come.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
You'll go off track, and it's not going to be, where you need to be. And like I said, it's very easy. So it's easy to go that way, but If you just keep pushing forward, same thing with crop. Don't think about the next belt. Just think about where you are right now. You'll get that next belt before you know it.
That's awesome. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny that because you've had this little slowdown because you're focusing on something else. But you'll love this quote that Warren, Warren Gibson was my student for a long, long time. Like he's been here through generations and generations of black belts, and he just never tested for his first degree. He's been a probationary black belt for years. And so he finally tested and got it certified this time. And
I heard, that's great.
yeah, the quote that I loved that he said, that when, you know, the part where they're supposed to give advice to younger people listening and all, is he said, it's okay to slow down as long as you don't completely stop.
Right.
Right. Like, and so, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So before we kind of move into a different set of questions, is there anything else that you would like my audience? You know, I'm certain that some of my audience are people that, you know, will be voting in your district. So is there anything else you would like them to know about yourself before we move on?
Again, I'm not a politician. That I cannot stress that enough. About myself, I'm extremely passionate about what I'm doing. And I'm not doing it for myself. And people need to know that, because I was just on Facebook before and people are trying to make it about that, but it really isn't, because I would actually like, you know, nothing better than to live my life, you know, be going to Krav on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But there was such a need and nobody was doing anything. I don't want to be that person that complains and does nothing. And what I'm actually, when I see the people out in Pasco and I'm talking to them, it's resonating with them because they have no idea what's going on in the county. But here's the thing is we need to get uncomfortable. Same thing with crop. You'll never get that intensity. You'll never move further like you want to. You have to stay completely focused. You cannot let anything, I think I'm veering off here, so I do apologize, but you get my drift here.
Yeah. Well, not only that, Shannon, but I was, at the moment, I have to confess, I was thinking about what am I going to call the title of this podcast? And right, like I was trying to think, and I was going to ask you, do you have a particular phrase or something that you use? But then you said, but then, and then you just mentioned though, we need to get uncomfortable. That's a quote right there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But if you have something else, you can't tell me
Your
that.
voice matters. Your voice
Voice
definitely matters, and it's not being heard. But I encourage the people of Pasco County to research with all the development that's going on. You know, they tell you when you first get in this, hey, or they say, what's your platform? We can list all of these things, but our biggest problem here in Pasco right now is the growth, because it affects everything, and especially our safety with our firefighters and the sheriff's department and the police, the EMTs. You ought to look into it because it's actually very scary, and they don't have what they need to protect us right now. And we really, really need to do what we need to do as citizens and let those know that are running right now, this needs to change.
Right.
If you're going to continue with the growth, you need to keep up with the infrastructure. And right now it's not there. So yeah, it's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, I think this is good that that we're talking, because, you know, the truth is there's probably mostly people like me most of the time, I hate to admit it, but that, you know, go and vote on kind of the bigger ballots and then don't really know the other ones and just, you know, and, you know, I mean, a lot, and certainly the subject that I've almost been trying to just withhold comment because I'm not certainly an expert on it, but certainly the subject you're talking about is a delicate balance, right? Like nobody is anti-development. Everybody understands that that's an important thing too. But you've pointed out lots of things I would never have had, you know, never have thought of, you know, the planes and the danger of the fireman and just,
there's so much to it.
Besides, quite frankly, all you got to do is drive, you know, try to drive from here to Westwood Chapel now, and you can see what happens with the, I mean, that's just crazy. The 56, you know, area over there, like, I just do not go that way at all anymore. Which is why they don't come on. Yeah.
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 But if we were to follow that comprehensive plan, like I mentioned earlier, the growth wouldn't be as fast.
Right.
There's rules in place, right? You wouldn't just start doing kickboxing set 8 if you're a white belt. You know what I mean?
What a great analogy.
Right.
Because they always want to do that.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
There are steps and there is a process.
Oof.
So you don't just skip over, no, you wouldn't buy your house and just pick your land and go, let's just build and we'll deal with the rest later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's great. So if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of shift gears and ask a non-related question.
Sure.
Because I opened up by mentioning that you were the mother of the great, Sensei Charlie, and I'm sure he's very beloved in our KMMA tribe and community. So I have a two-part question, and the first one is, in parenting that young man before he was that young man, like raising up Charlie to become the amazing young man that he has become. Would you have any parenting advice, or any things that you just think that helped, because he is an impressive young man? So like, would you have anything to speak to that?
Absolutely. Well, it's a privilege to be a mom, number one. And when I first had Charlie, I had all these ideas in my head. I think of how I was raised, and then the things I said, well, I will have Charlie, and I know this sounds funny, clean a bathroom. Charlie will know how to clean a bathroom. Charlie will know how to do his own laundry. Charlie will know how to cook. He's not a fan, everyone, but he can do it. Don't let him fool you. I would love to send you some pictures of him trying to cook bacon. He's literally covered from head to toe. You'd think it was winter outside. But, well, first and foremost, it's love. Love, love, love. He's such a fine young man. I'm not saying that because he's my son. The Lord has instilled in me what I needed to do to raise him, raise Emma. I was never easy. I still am not easy. I'm sure that you get that about me. So I don't let Charlie really slide on things. And I've seen it, like, again, in my own family. My parents let me slide on a lot of things. I don't let him slide. He gets punished, you know what I mean? But he knows why he's getting punished. I'll tell this quick story. I remember years ago, I was at my dad's, and my brother and his wife were there, and their little boy, and Charlie was probably 2, and they got into a fight. My nephew was 1, and I think Charlie hit him or something like that. And I pulled Charlie aside and I said, why did you hit him? And whatever it was. And I said, well, you need to go and apologize to him, even though at such a young age. And I remember my brother saying, why are you making him do that? He's only 2. And I was like, no, you need to start as soon as possible to instill in these kids manners, being polite. I mean, he'll open the door for me. I love that. I could go on and on, but again, I'm tough on him. Yeah. And that is why he is a fine young man.
That is amazing.
And I know that he can take it. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's 2 things that you said that just really, really jumped out at me. The first was because I often think about the pendulum swings that so often occur. Like, so it was interesting that you said in your life, your parents had allowed you to kind of be a slacker. And then the exact opposite. You're disciplinarian with Charlie.
Yes.
Well, I had exactly the opposite, right? Like my father was probably overboard extreme, like the one way. And then I probably let the pendulum, sometimes when they were a little too young, swing too far the other way, in spite of the fact that I'm a disciplined person and all the years of martial arts, military and all that. But it was from the thinking that what I went through wasn't necessarily correct, and then you kind of overcompensate a little bit, right? And then the second, which ties closely to the second thing that jumped out at me, which was that, the discussion with your brother, right? Like the thought that popped into my mind was, when would you like to start? Right? Like
Right.
because it seems like that's one of the mistakes that as a society we're making,
Yeah.
telling them things they don't need to know too soon, but letting things like this get away too long.
Yeah.
Right. So wow, that's great wisdom and everything that you said. What, since Charlie has been here with me in the dojo, what benefits and improvements have you seen to his already amazing character from his training?
Well, I get choked randomly. No, I'm just kidding. I get kicked all the time. I will say when he chokes me, I need to share this with you guys, because if your kids, you're in Krav and they choke you, come from behind, I call it the tickle defense. It gets them every time. Just get their side or something. But what have I seen in Charlie? Well, he's more of a gentleman, that is for sure. Not that he wasn't before, but he goes out of his way. Gosh, his attitude, he does help around the house, and I love that. He's about to go and take care of some compost for me. I'm just saying, but I don't know if it's just one thing. He's just such a kind young man, and very passionate. And I'm sure anybody there who knows him can see that that is who Charlie is, and that's who he is here as well. Yeah.
I've seen it in his, I was sitting here thinking, trying to remember back to when he began. And like you said, he already had better manners than most. He already had, he even already had better focus than most, even though that has improved. But I think where I've seen the most improvement is in his confidence.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And it's always different things for different people, but for him, that's the one that is so astoundingly, and he loves this. He reminds me of me when I was his age, because for him, it's not just something he's doing to get to a particular point. He loves it. He'll be doing it the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, what a privilege and a blessing to be that young and love your job.
Yeah.
Normally that's not the case.
That's such a true. We could talk for another hour on that, but we won't, because there's maybe on a different podcast. But you're right. I mean, that does open a whole nother can of questions, right? Because it's true, most will not find that young. Some won't find it ever. Obviously, we want that. We want to be able to find it, but then there's all the questions of, like, I heard Shannon Harley say to a young person the other day, say, your first job doesn't have to be the thing that you love, right? Like he was basically just telling this other young man, just get to work, right? And so there's so much great discussion around that. But I would agree with you that for Charlie to already have found what he really did is, chapter 7 of my book is about, finding your unique gifts so you can develop, so you can identify your calling, what you were called to do. And that's what Charlie's really already done, which I would agree is so far ahead of his peers.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. And he's a force of nature, to be that young. And I can't imagine what he'll be 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, Shannon, first of all, thank you for spending the time with us. And second of all, congratulations on your race. And I hope it works out where you're going to win and be able to make the difference you want to. And even though it might mean that it's even longer before you can get back to Krav Maga, but
well, at least I'll have a schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So right now, everything, it's just go here, go there, go talk to this, so at least I'll have a schedule and I'll know if what days I can come.
Yes. Well, as I said, I appreciate the time. I think it's been very educational for me, and I'm sure it will for everybody who hears this as well. So again, anybody who is in that area, it's District 4 County Commissioner that you can vote for Shannon Wittwer.
Can I give you my website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's www.shannon, SHANNON, the number 4 Pasco, PASCO, CC.com. And I'm on Facebook.
Outstanding. And we can actually have, when Shannon Harley turns this into a podcast and YouTube and all that, he can put that right in the show notes too.
Wonderful.
All right,
Thank
Shannon, well, have a super fantastic day. Thank you, and you're welcome.
You too, Grandmaster. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.